Mr. Speaker, today I want to speak about the crime crisis that's plaguing Cairns. I want to share why far north Queenslanders want tougher laws and why the second tranche of the Making Queensland Safer laws are critical to reducing the revolving door of criminal activity in our region. Crime impacts the far north Queensland community daily. My community is hurting, my community loudly shares this pain, and my community has been begging for things to change. These pleas fell on deaf ears with the previous Labor government, and unlike those opposite, our government is listening and acting and delivering for Queensland. In my short 6 months in this chamber, I have spoken many times about crime impacting Cairns, as it's the biggest issue hurting our region. During the election, we said we would put the first tranche through before Christmas, and we did exactly that. Our next step was to seek advice from an expert legal panel, and I strongly support these additional 20 offences recommended to be included. September last year, the member for Cairns said that crime was down 11.5% under his government, and that unlike the LNP, he said he doesn't think we should be locking up kids. A decade ago, the member for Cairns voted for detention to be a last resort, and this is why Cairns has a crime epidemic. The 4 Labor members ignored the youth crime crisis issue, and they didn't believe that youth who commit crime should be punished or locked up. They believe that detention should be a last resort and that youth criminals are the victims, and the residents of Cairns who are impacted by youth criminals don't matter. Thankfully, our region now has 3 new members of Parliament to represent you, with the member for Cook and the member for Mulgrave, who with me will work hard every day to put the rights of victims ahead of the rights of criminals. I support this second tranche of the Making Queensland Safer laws, not only as the member for Barron River, but on behalf of the small business community who are suffering. Many experience theft, vandalism and safety concerns for their staff and patrons. To those businesses that have closed down due to the continuing window repair bills that exceeded their monthly rent bills, these new changes in legislation, including vandalism, are for you. I support these additions on behalf of the countless victims of crime, many of whom are still suffering emotionally, financially and mentally from what happened to them. Many of whom are now without a car to get to work, many of whom have lost family heirlooms, and many of whom who have lost loved ones. Many hearts are broken because justice was not served. Under these laws, youth who commit adult crime offences will face the same consequences as adults. We still have a long, long way to go, and you can rest assured this side of Parliament will continue to take steps to make laws tougher until we see victim numbers decreasing. For 10 years, detention was made as a last resort and breach of bail was decriminalised. The rights of offenders were elevated above the rights of victims. And the result, a decade of chaos and crisis with the youth crime crisis. I want to thank the Justice, Integrity and Community Safety Committee for their hard work and for holding a hearing in Cairns. And I'd like to share some of the heartbreaking stories the committee heard. One was 48-year-old Cairns' father who was chased and pushed into a pathway from his car, causing his death in 2023. The 16-year-old responsible was sentenced to 4 years jail with parole after serving only 28 months. Had our Making Queensland Safer laws been in place, this person would have faced much harsher penalties. Or local 72-year-old Mary Viola, who was punched with knuckle dusters by a youth offender while leaving her shop. Marie faced bruising, a 7mm hematoma and ongoing emotional trauma. The punishment received under the former government, 40 hours of community service with no conviction recorded. Under adult time, adult crime, these youth would be facing much harsher penalties. And by further strengthening our laws, we can move forward restoring safety to our great state. However, the elephant in the room needs to be addressed. How have these youth been allowed to do this for so long? How have our most vulnerable children been led down this path of crime? How has the residential care system failed and been crime-creating homes to be raised in? Under the failed former government, sitting opposite, thousands of vulnerable children have been left to languish in a system that has failed them and in turn caused insurmountable pain for many far north Queenslanders. Right now in Queensland, more than 100 of the state's most serious young offenders are living in out-of-home care. These are not just kids who have made a mistake, these are repeat offenders responsible for 55% of all youth crime in our state. In far too many cases, we are seeing kids raised by the state in an environment that produces criminals. It hurts me to share these statistics today and to know that many of these children are living in residential care in Cairns as I speak. 72% of young offenders in out-of-home care have been suspended or excluded from school. 56% have self-harmed, 40% have attempted suicide, and 70% live with a diagnosed or suspected disability. This is why adult crime must come with adult consequences, but never without adult responsibility and our collective responsibility. These are children who have been let down by the system, by the state, and by the organisations who are supposed to care for them. They have ended up off the rails, turning to a life of crime, and it's why we are investing in the regional reset and staying on track programs that are key pillars of the Crisafulli government's plan to make our communities safer. We are also investing in $175 million on the Staying on Track program, which will deliver a 12-month post-detention rehabilitation, including at least 6 months intensive support to reintegrate them into the community and prevent them from falling into the cycle of repeat youth crime again. Those opposite only had a 72-hour care window once the youth left detention, with many reoffending, hence the cycle continues. The $50 million Regional Reset program will deliver 9 early intervention residential programs, and a youth justice school will be located in far north Queensland to help these youth get the education that they need. So I stand here today not only to support adult time, adult crime, but also to thank our government for also introducing the Commission of Inquiry into Child Safety in Queensland. We know that locking up a 14-year-old without looking at how they got there and what happens next is just setting them up to fail again. This inquiry will shine a light on the failures that have allowed young people to be passed between care homes and courtrooms like forgotten statistics. This inquiry will trial a secure care facility trial for the most at-risk children, a therapeutic facility with structure and support and supervision, and lots more. Mr. Speaker, if we do not change the system, we will lose another generation to crime, chaos and despair. The Crisafulli government is determined to not let this happen. It starts with the second tranche and it continues with this inquiry. We will continue to support early intervention, rehabilitation and diversion programs, but not at the cost of community safety and not at the cost for justice for victims. Before I close, I also want to acknowledge a very special person in far north Queensland, a radio announcer, Mr. John McKenzie from 4CA-FM. John has been on the airways for over 52 years and he is hanging up his headphones next week. John, thank you for diving deep into the crime issues into our region and for having so many experts on your show. Our city will miss you in our ears and for challenging our thinking. To the victims and communities who have suffered in silence for too long, we hear you, we see you, and today we act for you. Mr. Speaker, I give my full support to this bill.
Thank you, Member.